There's a moment most men know intimately. You've thought about it for weeks, maybe months. The plan is clear, the desire is real, everything you need is already in front of you. And you don't move. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care. You care deeply. And that's almost the problem. You sit there, completely still, and somewhere in the space between intention and action, something invisible takes over. You open a new tab, you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You think, I just need a little more preparation. The moment isn't quite right yet. And here's what nobody says out loud. That feeling, that specific, almost comfortable paralysis, isn't weakness. It's a system. A deeply intelligent, carefully constructed psychological system. And it has been running your life far longer than you realize. Think about the last time you decided to change something significant. Maybe it was starting a business, a fitness goal, a creative project, a decision you knew you needed to make. You felt the pull clearly, the vision was there, the motivation was real. And then, almost immediately, a quieter voice appeared. Not yet. Wait until Monday, wait until the new year, wait until things settle down. We treat this voice like wisdom, like strategic patience, like the reasonable, mature part of ourselves protecting us from reckless action. But here's the first thing you need to understand. That voice has never once told you the moment was right. Think back carefully. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, wait, I actually wanted to have this done already? Maybe it was last week, but you're sure it was already supposed to be finished. Possibly the lust you told yourself you quit feeding last month, or the moment in general, where you said it would be the last time, dozens of times ago. And it never was. Because the last time never comes on its own. You don't wake up one morning and simply stop. The moment you're waiting for, the one where it finally feels easy to quit, easy to start, easy to change, that moment is not coming. It never does. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it pre-crastination, the compulsive need to feel prepared before acting. But what looks like preparation is often something far more uncomfortable. It's rehearsal for never starting. Every book you read about the thing instead of doing the thing. Every plan you refine instead of execute. Every conversation you have about your goals instead of moving toward them. These aren't steps forward. They are, in the most precise psychological sense, substitutes for movement. And the cruel irony is this: they feel productive. They release just enough dopamine to satisfy the part of your brain that wants to feel like you're progressing, while ensuring you never actually do. You've been outsmarting yourself, and you didn't even know it. Here's where it gets deeper. Because waiting to start isn't a habit you developed randomly. It didn't come from laziness. It didn't come from low ambition. If anything, the men most trapped by this pattern tend to be the most ambitious ones. It comes from something far more primal. At some point in your life, probably earlier than you can clearly remember, you tried something. You reached for something. You put yourself out there in some real, genuine, exposed way. And it didn't go well. Maybe it was failure in front of people who mattered. Maybe it was trying your absolute hardest at something and still falling short. Maybe it was being told, explicitly or implicitly, that your effort wasn't enough, that you weren't enough. The details vary, but the psychological conclusion was always the same. If I try and I still fail, I have nothing left to protect myself with. This is the hidden logic beneath every "I'll start Monday." Every "the timing isn't right." Every plan that gets refined into perfect uselessness. Because as long as you haven't started, you remain theoretically capable of everything. The business could still work. The book could still be written. The version of you that succeeds is still entirely possible. The moment you begin, that protection disappears. You are no longer potentially great. You are actually trying. And actually trying means actually risking finding out the truth about what you're made of. This is what psychology calls self-handicapping, and it is one of the most sophisticated, invisible, and ruthlessly effective defense mechanisms the human mind has ever developed. Not starting isn't failure. Not starting is insurance against failure. And your brain, which cares far more about protecting your ego than about your actual growth, has been issuing this policy your entire life. But there's a second layer, and this one is darker. Because even if you understand the fear intellectually, even if you nod along and think, yes, I see it, I know what I'm doing, most men still don't change. Why? Because the waiting isn't just protecting you from failure, it's protecting your identity. And here's what nobody tells you about identity. You don't just have one. You have a current self and a future self. And these two versions of you are not teammates. They are competitors. Your current self has spent years building an identity around potential, around being the guy who could, the one with the ideas, the vision, the plans, the capacity for something great. If only the moment was right. That identity is not nothing. It carries real social weight. People around you believe in it. You believe in it. It feels good. It feels safe. But the moment you actually start, the moment you move from potential to execution, you threaten everything that identity is built on. Because now you're not the man who could do great things. You're the man who is trying to. And trying, by definition, means you might not. Your brain performs a quiet calculation, one you never consciously authorize. Which is safer? Staying as the man everyone believes it could be great, or becoming the man who found out? And for most men, in most moments, the answer the brain chooses is devastating in its logic. Stay. Keep the potential intact. Keep the identity safe. Wait for a better moment that gives you more certainty, more preparation, more guarantee that when you step forward, you will not fall. The waiting isn't cowardice. It's the most rational thing your current identity knows how to do. That's what makes it so difficult to break. So what does a man actually do with this? Not what you think. The standard advice is motivational. Just start. Take action. Stop overthinking. And while that advice isn't wrong, it fundamentally misunderstands the problem. You don't need more motivation. You need to grieve something. To genuinely begin to cross the line from intention into action, you have to be willing to let go of something you've been protecting for years. The version of you that could have been anything. Because that version only exists in the waiting. The moment you start, he disappears. And in his place appears someone smaller, messier, more uncertain. A man who is actually in the arena, making real mistakes, facing real distance between who he is and who he wants to be. Most men are not psychologically prepared for that grief. Nobody tells them it's coming. So when they feel it, that strange, almost mourning sensation, when the dream stops being abstract and starts being real, they interpret it as a sign they weren't ready. They go back to the desk, they refine the plan, they wait. But the men who actually break through don't do it by eliminating the fear. They don't wait until starting feels comfortable. They discover something more powerful than comfort. The pain of staying has finally exceeded the pain of moving. That's the real threshold, not readiness, not confidence, or a complete plan, just a quiet, clear-eyed recognition that the cost of remaining exactly where you are has become more unbearable than the cost of finding out what you're made of. And on that day, not a dramatic day, usually, often an ordinary Tuesday, often a moment nobody else notices, something shifts. The man who is waiting becomes the man who started, and he finds out, almost immediately, something that no amount of preparation could have told him. The starting was never the dangerous part. The waiting was. There's a version of your life that exists only in the space between deciding and doing. It's vivid, it's safe, it's entirely yours. Nobody can take it from you, and it will never, ever be real. The life you actually want, the one that costs something, the one that requires you to be seen trying, to be seen failing, to be seen getting back up in full view of anyone watching. That life begins on the other side of a single, ordinary moment. Not the moment everything aligns, not the moment you feel ready. The moment you decide that who you are becoming matters more than who you've been pretending you could be. That moment is always available. The question is never whether it's time. The question is whether you're finally done waiting to find out.